Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Now, I welcome you all to the final presentation for the Muslimah Wordsmith WriterCon. Wow, it's been an amazing ride all through. It's been a wild ride. It's been we've had learning and relearning and unlearning sessions. Mashallah. I feel elated and sad at the same time, but all things have a starting and an end, and this is the end of our conference. And closing the show or closing the conference for us is Sister Zainab Sulaimon. I'm going to read to you her bio now and pass the mic on to her. Sister Zainab Sulaimon is an experienced editor and writer with a demonstrated history of working in the writing and editing industry. She's skilled in fiction, storytelling, and editing, with a strong and professional media and communication presence. Zainab is the CEO and Chief Editor at Emerald Writing and Editorial Services. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Zainab.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
It's very nice to have you here. Jazakallah khairan for accepting our invite to come and share your knowledge with us. So Sister Zainab's topic is self-edit like a boss. So I'm going to take a back seat now and allow her do her thing. Bismillah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillah, assalatu wassalam ala rasulullah. All praises and thanks are due to Allah. We praise Him, seek His help, and ask Him for forgiveness. Whoever Allah guides, none can misguide, and whoever Allah leaves to stray, none can guide. I bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship save Allah alone, who has no partner, and I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His slave and His messenger. I pray that may Allah accept this from us, from all of us, all 16 speakers, including the host, as an act of ibadah. And I pray that this beautiful initiative counts as a huge mountain of rewards for our moderator, Sister Hafsa bint Noreen, on the day of judgment. Ameen. May Allah make it a sadaqah to Jariyah. Ameen. This evening, I'll be talking about how to self-edit in an excellent manner, how to self-edit in an outstanding way, like when your editor sees your work, your editor drops a hat for you. Because self-editing is very important. And as the last speaker, I'll be putting the icing on the beautiful cake, because we have learned so much. You know, when Sister Balkis was speaking, before this whole conference started, I was like, are you sure I won't put in or chip in some Yoruba? Like, just to, I don't know, just to make it flow and feel comfortable, like in just some parts, because there's some parts that I felt like, okay, like, for example, when you're writing, just whatever comes to your head, just put it down, even if it's in your native language. So I thought, I was like, oh, don't put it, don't do anything. But when she spoke this evening, and and we're talking about our mother tongue and everything, and Yoruba as a language and all that. I was like, well, I think I'm just going to use this. So in some parts, I might just chip in some kind of just little bits of Yoruba, just to, I don't know, feel some kind of comfort. It's not every time we speak English, I beg. But anyway, let me start a bit about talking. Let me introduce myself. My name is Zainab, as host has said, and I am an editor. But before all my editing journey started, I used to love writing. I used to write as a kid. There was a day I found one of um, my scribbles, because I don't want to call it a novel. It is not to be classified as a novel. It was one of my scribbles, and I was just laughing at it. I think I was about 9 or 10 when I wrote that thing. So I used to love writing and all that. So about let me see, over 8 years now. Um, I wrote like with the intent of publishing. You understand? I wrote a short story. I wrote that short story under 3 hours. So because I really wanted someone to read it, I went to meet a lecturer of mine. I was still in school then, and he's a grammar lecturer, and I'll be forever grateful for taking that step, and I'll be forever grateful to him for attending to me. And I went to I explained my situation, that I just want someone to read this, and I don't know, like, and he was like, okay, sit down. Like, I should sit down with him and we read it together. I was like, okay. And guys, I can tell you that in an hour, 30 minutes or so, we were still on page one, and he was correcting me. And when he corrects a sentence, he'll go deep into why he corrected it. He'll tell me the reason why he did so, and he'll tell me the reason what it is supposed to be. So everything took a toll on it, and I was like, as an English student, God of mercy, it's me that they're correcting like this with so much red pen. Do you understand? Because there's sometimes you just write some stuff and you think it's grammatically correct, but it is actually wrong. So after he did that, like, I thought to myself, I said, this is interesting, because I actually had fun when he was correcting me. Like, because I gained so many things in that 1 hour, and just that one page that we did, like in that 1 hour. I was happy because I learned so much. So this is what it means, like when you correct someone, like, it's so, I don't know, it's so interesting. It's not like the kind of correction that people don't like, okay, when you sit down and you correct them, or personality correction. No, we're not talking about that. This is something that he did. He took his time to explain to me how it's supposed to be, why this is not correct, and you can actually just be amazed with the English language. So afterwards, I thought to myself, and I'm like, okay, I think I would make a profession out of it. But before really taking that decision, I worked um with the government for about 3+ years voluntarily, and I was editing. I used to edit sensitive documents and letters and everything. So after which I left, it wasn't until last year, I think, yeah, I decided to take a step, that bold step, and just start on my own, like start it as a profession, and here we are. Alhamdulillah for the journey. So that's about me. Um, when we talk about editing, what do we editing? I think editing cuts across all facets of life. Editing, it just cuts across life, honestly. When if you're in school and you want to submit your assignment, we always read it over. When we write exams, we always read it over. Those little processes are termed as editing also. And when you read your assignment over, when you read your exams over, you tend to correct some mistakes and you tend to get higher marks than actually just submitting it that way. So editing can be defined as an act of correcting, condensing, or improving a written material. Hence, your work shouldn't be producing a throat clearing effect, and you know all issues are already staring at you. Like when they see your work, they already this one has come again with all the I don't want to mention it. For you to sorry, can you hear me, Sister Afso? I think I lost connection.
I can hear you. I can hear you now. We lost your audio for a
Assalamualaikum.
while. Wa alaikum salam. We lost your audio for a while, but I can hear you now. And I believe every other person can as well.
Okay, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
So as a writer, self-editing is an important skill to possess. If you want to become an author, you have to learn how to self-edit before taking your work to an editor, or before considering giving a beta reader. We'll come to all those terms later, beta reader and all that. You need to learn how to edit yourself. You need to learn to look at your manuscript. Take a look at it after you've written it. You need to learn how to go back to it, because there's sometimes that it's a different thing to read, it's a different thing to write, and it's a totally different thing to read what you have actually written. Those three things are different, because there's some people that feel lazy to actually read what they have written, and there's some people that when they're reading what they have written, they tend to it tends to be a conscious thing. Like, it just it's their idea, it's their thoughts and everything, so they tend to read offhand. So this is why we need to this is why an author needs to learn how to self-edit, and we'll come to that area and we'll come to that aspect much later. Now let's start by talking about the importance of self-editing. But first, okay, let's self-editing. Sister Hafsa, please, importance of self-editing. The slide should be importance of self-editing. Yeah. Jazakillah khairan. As I said earlier, self-editing is a crucial and critical skill to possess by an author. It is important in order not to get rejected from publishing houses. That's the first thing. If you want to publish your work and you just sit down and say to yourself, "Oh, I want to publish a work of art," and you write and you send it over to a publishing house. The way they do it these days, they don't even email you or send you, or they don't even get back to you. They just totally ignore. There are reasons why some of these things happen. If you take your work to a publishing house and it gets rejected. There are two main reasons why this might have happened. And those two main reasons are linked to the fact that a self edit did not happen from the author. So, one of those reasons is lack of going straight to the point when you're writing. Editors hate, and you know, these publishing houses, they have their, what they call it, they have their editors. So, if you want to publish and okay, you send your manuscripts there, they have their editors who will filter the ones that they want to publish. Like they will feel they need to filter, because why should your work, why should they take that risk on you as a writer, an unknown writer that is just coming out, you understand? So once they see that your work, those editors, once they read page 1, page 2, and the work is not making sense, they just fling it out of the window, or they just literally fling the book. So it's, you have to learn how not to beat around the bush when you're writing. So that is lack of going straight to the point. Yeah, you just like telling a lot of stories, lot of irrelevant things, and the editor just feels like, okay, I'm not getting what this person is saying, and then they just toss it aside. Another thing is the second reason is, if you a writer that makes use of too much of descriptions, like your work is becoming a descriptive essay, you need to learn to curb it. Like, describe, there's some things that you don't even need to describe, but describe less. Don't make your work become an essay. Don't make it become a descriptive essay. So I'm going to take an excerpt from a book called The Wilderness Explorer. It's about Daniel Boone. I'm just going to read a few lines just to paint a picture of what I'm saying. But before I read that, we need to learn, as writers or as authors, we need to learn to start strong on page 1 of your manuscript. Start very strong. And what do we mean by start strong? You need to establish a scene, you need to create a conflict, you need to generate a mystery. Either of these three or all of these three. You just make something happen on your page 1. You need to place your reader in the present, let the reader feel that narrative. You need to bring it alive with tension and vividness. You need to establish that connect with your reader. Like when a reader picks up your book and they read the first page, or they are hooked to it, I can't drop this book. That's the first thing. You need to start strong. A manuscript needs to have that effect on readers, or on editors, and blah blah blah. So let me read and give a practical example of what I'm saying. This chapter starts with is titled a very young hunter. But when you pick up the book, you see the story of Daniel Boone, Wilderness Explorer. It immediately sends something to the reader that, I'm going to experience a lot of adventure in this book I want to read. So let's go to the first page. First page, that's the first chapter, says a very young hunter. Again, you get another feeling that, okay, let's see what's going to happen. And it starts with, I'm just going to read like the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines. It says, from the time he was a young boy living on Pennsylvania frontier, Daniel Boone hated to stay in one place very long. He wanted to be free, to wander and explore. When his parents took him to church, his mother had to hold his hand tightly. If she didn't, he would silently slip away. Nobody ever saw him leave. He just vanished. Now, this line if an editor were to see this, as compared to, okay, wait, let me just if an editor were to see this, or a reader, let's use reader, let's not use editor here. The author didn't start with Daniel Bones biography yet. He didn't start until like the next page or the next 2 pages. If you read from these 6 lines I read, a scene is already established, because we can picture a mother holding her son very tightly because the boy slips away. She doesn't want to, lose her child. The reader is already thinking that, oh, there's already tension that, oh, how will a mother feel if she loses her child? The pain of not seeing her child again. So you already picture how tight she's holding that boy so that he would not slip away. You, as a reader, you want to know why he is like that, why he is so, because you picture him already as an eager child, a child that a child that is always forward, a child that loves adventure. So you're already hooked to the book, that okay, I want to know why Daniel Bone is like this. There's already a picture in your head of a mother, a child, a church. There's already a scenario. He has used the location, Pennsylvania. You understand? Everything is playing in and this is just the first 6 lines. But the author goes ahead in the second page or third page. That is when he starts describing Daniel Bone's family. He has 6 sisters. He has blah 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 blah. So compare it to someone that starts with, oh, Daniel Bone was born in something something something. He has 5 families and 5 siblings. He has a mother. He has a father. You understand? So there's you need to start strong in your manuscript. Make it just get straight to the point. If you are now going to draw and draw, of which I don't even advise, but if you are going to draw and draw, make it in the middle. Mix it with something. Don't start with your first page. That's that about why editing is important, in order not to self-editing, is important in order not to let a publishing house reject your manuscript. But these days we self-publish, so that is even better. More reason why you need to self-edit and need to give an editor and need to get a better reader. Get a better reader and then give an editor. But we'll get to those ones much later. Another reason why it's important, why self-editing is important, is because it reduces the stress on editors. Editing is not something that no one cannot do. Do you understand? Everyone can edit, everyone can correct mistakes. But for you to become an editor, you have to have a keen eye. If you give an unedited work, a raw manuscript, to an editor, I wouldn't lie, it's something I've experienced. It gives an editor headache. So it's important for you to self-edit, because it evokes a lot of emotions. Like, the editor already has a lot of work at hand, and you come and dump your raw manuscript, which you did not touch. It gives, I don't know, it just causes a lot of stress, a lot of headache, and it's just it just evokes a lot of emotions. It's something we see it day to day. So self-editing is important, please. It's you how will I put it? It's something an author needs to build. Even if you think, okay, you can pay your editor any amount, let them just edit. It's a good thing to actually process, because it improves your writing day by day. Once you start self-editing, you improve your writing skills day by day. Like, you see, okay, this is not, because there's some things that just your thoughts is different from what you put down. It's the same thing, but at the same time you might repeat some words, like you don't know that you're repeating that word, but it just comes like let's say you use double off unintentionally. So what in your head is one off you want to use in that sentence, but you just put down double off. Again, it's important to self-edit because it saves costs sometimes. Now, there are different kinds of editing. Once you have self-edited yourself and your editor, and you give your work to your editor, and your editor, okay, they read first page, second page. Oh, this person is kind of good to go. Like, I already like it. You might only need just one type of editing for your manuscript, and it will save cost. You understand? Another point is it enables readability for your beta reader. Imagine a raw manuscript being given to someone who is a beta that I keep saying beta reader, but I'll give it it's in another section and I'll explain who a beta reader is. Imagine giving a raw manuscript to your beta reader, and you're supposed to get a feedback from them. And these days, everything is virtual. You just won't hear from them again because they can't read what you have given them. So you need to self-edit your manuscript before even considering giving it, even if the beta reader is your brother or your sister or your aunt or your father or your spouse. At least try to fine-tune it before giving it to them. Don't give them a raw manuscript. It puts everything is just going to be everywhere, and they won't understand what you actually intend to communicate. Then another important bit, I'll stop here for the importance, is that it enables you to step into the world of your reader. Imagine an unedited work or a work that is not self-edited. Imagine put yourself in your reader's place and imagine what your reader is feeling. Like, can they read this manuscript? If I were to be my reader, can I read what I'm actually presenting? If it's a no, then you need to work on your manuscript to the best of your ability. But if it's a yes, then fine. your work is good to go to an editor, or you're good to go and self-publish your work or your manuscript. Now let's start with the next slide, which is basic rules on how to self-edit. First of all, when you have your manuscript with you and when you write, now this is very important. Nobody is saying you shouldn't write, but write in your voice. Try to don't stress yourself when you're writing. Let it flow. When you're writing something, okay, let's say you're writing something concerning an initiation, and the word initiation is not coming to your mind at that moment. Put it in your mother tongue. Oh, wegbe. Put it in brackets. It's your manuscript. You're writing it. Nobody can come and um break your head for it or tell you that why are you putting. No, it's your manuscript. Write in your own voice. Let it flow. If you feel that, okay, there's sometimes you need to there's some words that are not coming to you at that moment, put whatever it describes, put it in brackets. You will come back to it, but just let that writing flow. And when you're writing, avoid wordy sentences. Like, make your sentences short. Don't make it too long. And I'll give you examples of wordy sentences. Express yourself in short sentences. I'll give you examples. For example, let's say you want to say, they agreed, and then you just say they were in agreement. None of it is wrong, actually, but just to cut down, to go straight to the point, to not to have too many long sentences or two sentences running into another, or too much sentences begin to it begins to affect your use of punctuation. So just avoid what the sentence is. So instead of saying they were in agreement, why not just say they agreed? Or instead of saying I would really like to have that thing, it might work for emphasis, but at the same time you can just say I want that thing. Or I find it preferable. You can just say I prefer. Avoid adverbs, avoid adjectives, too much adverbs, too much adjectives. Please avoid them. And there are many words like that. Format your work. If you want to self-edit, there's a font which is called Times New Roman. It's a very good font for writing. Like, it makes it so I personally love it because it makes your works neat and readable. It makes your work it makes it very, 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 very neat and readable. Like, you can see it clearly no matter what, even if it's on your phone or on your on your computer or tab or anything. Times New Romance is very, very nice, or Arial, one of those two. They are very nice fonts. Try to avoid Calibri body too much. I know Calibri body is like, it's kind of like a default font, but at least if you go back now and try it after this session, just look at the difference between TNR and Arial and then Calibri body. You see that TNR actually makes your work, it's sweet on the eyes. Like, it's just you just want to continue reading whatever is used, whatever manuscript is used with TNR. So start from there. Like, format your work. Start with with self-editing. Then start strong. We already said that. Then there's something I want to reiterate here. It's a show versus tell. When you're writing, and okay, let's say you've written, like, we advise that just let it pour from your head and then later you edit it, right? When you get to let's say describing actions, it's better to show more than to tell. We're not saying don't tell, but show us that action. Let the words you use play have an effect on the reader's mind, that, oh, I can actually see it happening. Like, the reader can immediately picture it, than when you just simply tell it and it's just flat and cold. And I'll give you an example of what I'm saying. For example, you want to say, and sorry, I'm going to be using Bilal, is my robot, in every example I use. Let's say you want to say Bilal opened the door. You say Bilal opened the door, fine. You're telling us that Bilal opened the door, right? If it's not, you tell when that action is not necessary, or when it doesn't have any consequence to the development of your plot. So you tell. It's great to tell then, like when you know that, okay, you opened the door. So whose business is it? You understand? It's an action that signifies something, but it's not it's not necessary to the development of that your plot. It doesn't add to that, to the development of that your plot. So unless Bilal, you've told us before that Bilal is crippled. Let's say Bilal is crippled, and then he can't move, he can't do anything. And then you can now describe and tell us how Bilal went to open the door. Did he climb the stairs? did he go over something to open the door? That's when you can now describe it to us and tell us that, okay, you can now make use of stage directions, but don't use too much of it. But when you say Bilal stole the meat, the action you show us something when the action has a consequence on the plot of your story. So for example, stealing has a consequence. It has a lot of consequence. If it doesn't harm someone else, there's karma coming back to the victim. But stealing something has a consequence. So if you say Bilal stole the meat, why not just, instead of saying Bilal stole the meat, why not just describe how Bilal actually got to take the meat that he stole? So instead of saying Bilal stole the meat, make it more interesting and say, oh, use words that describe how Bilal got up quietly. He closed the door. He tried not to make the pot sound. You understand? Use some kind of interesting words that describe how the action of stealing will take place. I don't know if I'm making sense here, but I hope I am. So when you know that that action that you're describing doesn't have a consequence to your plot, you can tell us. Let it be flat. Say it. He closed the door. Bilal closed the door. But when the action has a consequence on your plot, okay, when Bilal steals the meat and next morning his mother wakes up and says, who stole the meat in this pot? Where is the meat in this pot? And then she's going to beat him mercilessly. Or the the meat just doesn't go around again. There's a consequence. He has done something that has an effect on someone else. So tell us, show it to us what that thing is about, that action is about. Show it to us. Don't just say it flat. It's more interesting when you describe words of going to steal. Okay, imagine yourself watching a movie and a robbery scene is about to happen. Imagine the danger song they use and all the effigy and all that. And then, or imagine, okay, compared to someone who, okay, let's say a wife and a husband, they're eating and it's a scene, and she clears the place in front of him, and then she opens the door to the kitchen, and then she drops the plate and blah blah blah. There is no danger song that arises when she opens that door. So I hope it makes sense. That's when you show your reader or show your reading audience, show them when the action has consequences. That's describe when actions have consequences, and just simply tell when the action doesn't have a consequence on the development of your plot. Another thing you need to be aware of is your spelling. When you are self-editing, be very mindful of your spelling. Be very mindful of words that are confusing. For example, you need to use into the cup and into let me say into let's see into the cup and in and let's see, I'm trying to look for something subtle. Into in the sense that you're pouring something into the cup, and into
maybe into a place or something. Hello, are you still there?
Assalamualaikum. Can you hear me
Wa alaikum salam. Now we lost your audio. Now we can
again?
hear you now.
Wow, subhanallah. Sorry.
Now you were
Okay, as
talking
I was
about
saying, I said into
into.
like the process of pouring something into the cup, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm going in to take something.
Okay.
Be sure to know the difference between. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Be sure to know the difference when to use into and when to use into. So there's some words that like that occur unconsciously when we are writing. So make sure to check your spelling and edit it. Make a self edit. Check your spelling because spelling is very important. For example, you might want to say advice, advice. You might want to make use of advice, and then you make use of advice, and then just totally changes the context of what you mean. Or you want to use or you constantly use, let's not even talk about errors, you constantly flow between American English and British English. You know the spellings are different, so you need to be consistent with one and make your dictionary on your laptop, set it to either it's American or English, because some of them they go back sometimes without you noticing it. Like for example, maybe you set it to use British English, and unknowingly you open a document which is used with American English. It might skip your mind to actually check it back when you know that okay, I write and I make use of English and British English. It might skip your mind to actually change it back. So those things give spelling differences which can actually affect your work. We'll go back to spelling. Also under spelling, you need to make sure your homophones are, are on point. Homophones, words that have the same spelling but different meaning.
I think we lost our audio again. Mr. Zainab. I think we lost our audio again.
Assalamualaikum. Can you hear me?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We can hear you now. We lost your audio.
Okay. Sorry about that. Is it better now, please?
Yes, I can hear you now. I hope everybody in the comments, can you hear Sister Zainab now, please?
Okay, so
You can
homophones
carry
are
on. You
words.
can carry on. I can hear you.
Homophones are words that have the same pronunciation but different spelling. Like you pronounce it the same way. They sound the same way, but they are spelled differently. So you might end up using there or a particular homophone when you mean the other one. So we should try to work on that and make sure it's on point. Also, you can listen to your manuscript. I'm going to use part of tools to use. I'm going to say something there that I could have put here, but I don't want to put it here. But you can listen to your manuscript. is in relation to listening to your manuscript. The all are Windows and Word documents and Word applications. They have a listening. They have a speech test for each document that you have. So you can, if you want to listen to what you have written down, you can actually play it, and it helps you see your mistakes. It helps you listen to your mistakes. It helps you listen to repetition of words. So you can actually make use of that and listen to your manuscript. Is a good thing. Listen to what you have written down. Don't just write and pass it on and toss it to someone to read without making those points to check that, okay, your manuscripts, I've tried to the best of my ability and it is on point. So you can actually listen to your manuscripts, listen to what you have written in order to point out mistakes. Also, another thing is problematic punctuations. You, when you write, and sometimes you intend to use a full stop, or you intend to come back to what you have written, and you say, okay, let me just put an ellipsis there, and then I'll come back to it. If you're going to come back to it, then try not to use that ellipsis. Put a bracket or something and write come back to it, because you might forget to go back to it, and you think, oh, okay, I intended an ellipsis here. And an ellipsis is supposed to convey something that it's not said, like you complete the sentence yourself or something like that. So you might actually forget. So there's sometimes that, just if you know you're coming back to something, don't use any punctuation. Use, okay, a bracket is actually a punctuation, but at least just write in the bracket that you're coming back to that sentence, because you might forget, and your sentence wouldn't flow again. Also, don't, when you're doing this self-editing, when you're trying to self-edit your manuscript, don't over edit. Like, because you really want to present something, you know, that is top notch, or to your beta reader or to your editor, don't over edit it. I read, I can't remember whose speech it was, but there was a guy that wrote in the comment section that whenever he edits, that he always feels that he doesn't know what he's writing again. And I feel maybe that is because he's over editing his work. So you try not to over edit your work. And then we should try to talk more in the active voice and the passive voice. More than the passive voice, sorry. Use more active voice than passive voice. So let's go back to let's go to the next slide, which is the do's and don'ts. The do's and don'ts is you have to ensure to have a checklist. Always have a checklist. I'll share one from Jerry at the end in my concluding section. Always ensure to have a checklist and keep it growing every time. You know, as you learn to self-edit yourself, you realize your mistake, and okay, this is where I'm doing a lot of mistakes, or this is where I'm weak or something. Keep that checklist growing every time. Have a beta reader. Now we've come to the beta reader where we've been shouting since morning. A beta reader is, let's say, a test reader, can also be called a test reader of an unreleased work of literature or other writing. This beta reader gives you feedback from the point of view of an average reader. So they give you a feedback that, okay, this is what I feel. Maybe you should remove this scene or something. And please note that try to have trusted beta readers. Screen them, because in this day and age, a beta reader can carry your work, and you will not find them again. Apart from them not being even able to read it, you have to be, smart about who you make your beta reader, and make your work such that make your manuscript that you're sending out one such that that they can't touch this document. Although we're in technology age, but just try to make sure that no one carries your work and publishes it, works on it and publishes it, and then you're lost. So try to screen whoever is going to be your beta reader. It actually helps a lot having a beta reader. A beta reader, okay, tells you things. You can have, for a manuscript, you can have up to 10 beta readers. And those 10 people will tell you that, okay, this is, you have different opinions surrounding your manuscript, and you know that, okay, 5 of them might be in line. If 5 of them are in line, then you should probably change what they're telling you to change in your manuscript. So you should try to write in your voice, then filter it. I said this earlier, that when you're writing, let the writing flow. Put your native language in between. Doesn't matter. Nobody can kill you for that. Let it flow. Put it there. If the word is not coming, put something that describes it there. Come back to it. You carry your dictionary and check it later. Then be sure to have someone that will read your work. If you don't want the beta reader option above, at least have someone read your work, even if it's your spouse or your friend or your mom or your dad or anybody or your brother. Just have someone read your work. Don't believe that you have it all, or you're capable of everything. Not capable in that sense though, like you're competent enough. Oh yes, we know you're competent, but at least let someone else read it and tell you that, okay, maybe in this scene, why did you make this person die like that? Of course, it's you that knows where you want your plot to end and where you want your plot to go. But at least have someone read your work. It's good to always have someone read your work, and let that someone be a trusted someone that would not steal your idea and give it out, at a lesser a lesser thing that work is worth. Then put yourself in the shoes of your reader. I think I said that earlier when I was talking about the importance of self-editing. Then this is very important. Please be open to objective criticism. Please, I beg you. When you want to, when you're writing your work, when you have a manuscript and you give someone to read, or you give a beta reader, these people are going to murder your work. I'm not saying they are right, but at the same time, it's not their idea, and they're saying something like it's like they're trashing what you're actually thinking. Please be open, receive it with loving arms and say thank you, okay? Because you are not saying what they are saying. So if they are being objective about it, that's a good thing. So you need to be open to receive objective criticism on your work. It is very important, because even if your work blows at the end of the day, we still have some book critics, and I like to I like to see them as sadists. Not all, but there's some that just hate what that writer has written, and they just critique it, and then they just spoil the amount of work that the author has used, the sweat of the author, and they just come and spoil it with their criticisms, even if that criticism is not just. There are some people like that. So we need to be open to objective criticism. Objective criticism that we know that, okay, oh yes, this thing is true. I will accept it and move on with my life. You don't need to have any feelings towards anyone. And then another thing is to be cordial with your editor. I'll speak about that at the end. Don't. Hmm. I have actually experienced it. Don't using LOL, LMAO, WTF. They are all called digital communication abbreviations. In your book that you want to edit, that you want to publish, please, I beg you, in Allah's name, in God's name, don't use those abbreviations in your book. Please, they are not, I don't want to say they're not professional at all. They're not even pleasing to the eyes. Seeing it in a book, in a work, in a written article, in a work of art, please try to avoid abbreviations that, I'm not saying you can use contractions, or contractions are totally acceptable, like haven't or hasn't. Like when you want to say have not and you use haven't, or had not and you use hadn't, contractions are acceptable. But when it now comes to you using what you use when you text in your book, please, I beg you in God's name, if you are used to using it when you sit down, self-edit, when you see it, please cancel it because it might come unconsciously when you're writing. That's why it is important to self-edit your work, because even an editor would not like to see that. There was one time I was editing someone's work, it's been like months back, and I just kept seeing digital communications and abbreviations, and I was like, is this person not all right? Astaghfirullah. Why are you using LOL or LMAO in your work, or WTF? Wow. Just try to avoid it. Avoid redundancies. You need to avoid redundancies. When you say Bilal nodded his head, please, what else will Bilal nod? Is it not his head? Why do you need to put head there? These things come unconsciously. I'm serious. So it's not even funny. Bilal nodded his head. The rain is falling. What else will fall from the sky? She shrugged her shoulders. She's going to. What else will she shrug? Is it her leg? No, it's her shoulders. So she clapped her hands. Ha, no baton. What else will she do? What else will she clap? Is it her legs she'll clap? So these things come unconsciously and you won't even know. When you're writing, just when immediately you see it like this, cancel it. That's why we reiterating why a self-edit is important. So instead of saying Bilal nodded his head, you can just say he nodded his head. Or she shrugged. Oh, sorry, I said he nodded his head. He nodded, sorry. Or she shrugged. Or she clapped. Or it's raining. So those things, we need to be careful, and we need to be observant. Then we need to try not to make use of too many words to describe your sentence. Omit needless words that you know that, okay, this thing it's kind of like describing the first sentence, so why am I using it? Just delete it. You're the best you're the best person who can tell yourself the truth. Like, you can listen to yourself, you know that, okay, I'm lying to myself, or I'm telling myself the truth. So just omit needless words. If you know that you don't need them, don't use them. Then one thing I like to tell my clients is don't limit your readership audience. Because you're in Africa, because you're in Nigeria, don't say it's only Nigerians that will read my book, or it's only the people that I'm writing for that will read my book. No, please try not to limit your readership audience. I'm not saying people you're writing for example, a person who writes an author who writes for small kids, her audience is small kids, right? I'm not talking about that kind of audience. I'm talking about audience that will read your book. Location audience. Don't say because you're in Nigeria, someone abroad cannot read your book. Please don't limit your audience. Widen your scope. Have that dream that people in the 6 continents are going to read this my book that I'm going to publish. So try to give it your best. If you have um that vision that this is what you want, you would see that you would work harder. You try your best to make your manuscript be the best that it can be. I usually say to myself that the fear of rejection is the beginning of great things, because that thing getting a rejection from a publishing house is something that can make you downcast and make you push your work and say I'm not doing again. But I remember Sister Rahima when she said J.K. Rowling's was rejected 12 times, but she still pushed on. She pushed on, and you see where she is now. So one rejection can be psychologically draining, but at the same time, don't make it weigh you down completely that you now say you're not venturing on your writing journey again. So once you have this vision that that a lot of people are going to read my work, it will motivate you to do better, to work better on your manuscript, to become a better writer every day. Another thing is, and this is very, very important, these three things I'm going to mention now, they are very important. And part of it is, don't misuse punctuations. Where you're supposed to use comma, don't use full stop. Where you're supposed to use colon, don't use comma. Be sure to use the right punctuations at the right time. It will make your work easier. And then don't mistake a poetic license for a writing style. Poets have their license. They can change facts. They can do a lot of things, as long as there is even a clause, as long as what they are producing is a good work. So they have that license to ignore some rules, even rules of language. But don't mistake it for a writing style. A person's writing style is okay. This person, their style of writing, they usually make use of multiple points of view, and it's only an expert that can make use of a multiple point of view. So that is their own writing style. Now, a writing style can be this person, they like to write in the second person, or they like to write in the first person narrative point of view, or they like to write in the third person. That is their own style. A writing style can be this person likes to set their novel in America, or this person likes to set their novel in Britain, or this person likes to set their novel in the East. Like their setting is the East. That is what they are best known for. So you pick up a work of art, and this is my writer. This writer style, that this is what this writer likes using. It is different from poetic license. Don't mistake a poetic license and say, okay, me too, I have the license to misuse punctuation when I'm writing, or I have the license to misuse grammar when I'm writing. Please, it is not allowed. A writer or an author has his or her own writing style, but even with their style, they can never ever misuse the rules of language when they're writing. It's something that is not allowed. So, having said that, the third one is, don't misuse your point of view. Try to know what a first person point of view is, what a second person point of view is, what a third person point of view is that is limited, and what a third person point of view is that is omniscient, which is like the person has access into all of the characters' minds. So try to know which point of view you are using. because if a point of view is misused, it will damage the story, and it will damage a reader's suspension of disbelief. That reader's suspension of disbelief is totally fractured. You just damage the whole story. Your reader will be like, what's this one saying? Do you understand? Like, they get lost. They totally get lost. Let's say you've been using the third person point of view, which is she or he, and then you just eventually switch to the first person. It's you just get your reader lost. So try to know which point of view you're going to use and stick to it. A first person point of view is usually used in autobiographies. A second person point of view, which is you or your, is not usually used in fictional stories. So it means that you're telling the person the story. But in a first person point of view, which is usually used in autobiographies, it means that the character is in the story. For the third person point of view, which is limited, this is the most common point of view that is used in works of fiction and um, novels and anything that is sellable as or termed as something that an author puts out to sell. The third person point of view is the most commonly used. Third person point of view limited. So he or she. So be sure of the one that you are going to use. Don't play around with it, please. It's very important. This is usually the first mistake that comes up when an editor is or that an editor sees when they are editing an author's manuscript. So having said that, I think that's all for the don'ts. Let's move to the next slide, please. Tools which can be used for self-editing. Now, I said previously in the basic rules on how to self-edit that I wanted to say something, but no, it wasn't in basic rules. It was in have someone read your book. Sorry, I'm trying to remember when I said it. Yeah, it was in basic rules on how to self edit. I said I was going to say something which I'll leave for later, and I intentionally put it here because it is compulsory. And number one too is to read aloud. Please don't mind anybody that tells you are disturbing them. If you are in your house, you're in your house. You're not disturbing anybody. Bring out your manuscript and read it aloud. Read it aloud. Read it like you are reading to a small child. Read it aloud. Read it one by one. If you do it that way, you're 70% sure of catching all your mistakes. If you read it aloud, even why am I saying 70%? You're 90% sure of catching all your mistakes, whether it be punctuation, because when you're reading and you pause, when you follow the rules of punctuation, when you see a comma, you pause, when you see a full stop, you end, blah blah blah. When you read it out, you're more likely to see where you're wrong. So it helps a lot. Reading aloud, it is a very important tool. Please use it. Mind, then you're in your house, be free. It's your manuscript. Another thing is, when you finish writing, this is just a tip. Stand up from when you finish writing, when you know that okay, you're done with this manuscript and you're done with this projects that you're doing. Drop it aside. Go and have a cup of coffee. Walk around. Go out. Just leave that manuscript. You can even leave it for 2 weeks or a day. Just leave it. Come back to it. Your mind is fresher. You're more liable to see the mistakes than when you just finish it and you say you want to edit it. Trust me, what is in that your mind is what you'll be reading, and it's not what you are reading on that paper. That's why I said earlier in the beginning, that is one thing to read, it's another thing to write, and it's another thing to actually read what you have written. So just leave your manuscript aside, take a break, refresh yourself, and come back with a clearer head. Then you'll be able to see your mistakes. Another thing is print out your manuscript. Another tool, print out your manuscript. Get a ruler and then read it line by line. Doing this is when you print out your manuscript, you put it down and make sure you space it out very well. Space out your manuscript. It's yours. Even if you only want to use it to correct, just make sure you space it out very well so you can be able to spot your mistakes. Use the ruler, put it on the paper, and read it line by line. You're very likely to catch all your mistakes. Another tool or another way, I'm calling them tools actually because that's what you can do, is to read from the bottom of the page to the top of the page. There's a movie that I watched. It's called Pride and Prejudice, and the character Elizabeth, she reads upside down. I don't know how she's supposed to do that. I can't read upside down, but people are different. So if someone can read upside down, that means you can read from left to right and from the bottom of your page to the top of your page. So when you read from the bottom of your page to the top of your page, you are likely to see your mistakes. Another thing we can do is if you have a problem with punctuation and you know that, I'm not really good with punctuation, you can go to there's a website. It's called thepunctuationguide.com. It will really help you if you really because trust me, punctuations can be confusing sometimes. So you need to be an expert at it if you want to become a good writer. If you want to become a professional writer, you need to be top notch with your punctuation marks. So it's called thepunctuationguide.com. It's really nice because it's well put together and it's well thought out. So it's really nice. You can also make use of Grammarly. What Grammarly does is like they offer spelling, punctuation checks, convention type alerts. So you remember I said something earlier about American English and British English, and you not realizing that it has changed to American English and all that. So Grammarly offers you all that when you subscribe and all that. Even if you're not subscribed, I think it's even on the free version. Grammarly helps with that. Also, another one is Pro Writing Aid. Pro Writing Aid is also good. Pro Writing Aid it gives you access to all the checks, whether you are a subscriber or not. I think it even helps you if you have a 500 word manuscript. It helps you correct it. So I've talked about going traditionally, which is reading out aloud and pointing, using a ruler, printing it out, using a ruler and reading line by line, reading from the bottom of the page. They are all traditional and manual methods. The others are, tools that can be found online. So I think that's just about that. I would I would conclude soon, and I promise to give a checklist from Jerry, and that checklist is have a pen and have a paper and write down. Tell yourself that have you maintained a single point of view. Write it down. Like have I maintained a single point of view per scene? Like is your point of view consistent? Did I use third person in chapter 1 and in chapter 2 I'm using second person, or I'm using first person? If it's good, check it. Then, have I avoided cliches? Have I resisted the urge to explain too much? Like I'm explaining too much. I'm telling, like my narrative is flat. I'm just telling instead of showing. I explained the difference earlier. So have it checked. Have I deleted the term literally when I actually mean figuratively? Some people use literally when they actually mean figuratively. So you need to check that, write it down as part of what you have checked, because literally means that it is actually happening, like you can actually see it. Like you can be crying and you say, I was literally crying. That's what literally means. But figuratively, it means, when you say figurative, I'm using it in simple terms as possible as I can. Figuratively means when you say something that you need to decode, or you're using it to term something else. Like, for example, when someone kicks the bucket, that means they are dead. I am not kicking the bucket like kicking the bucket. It's a figurative term I'm using. So try not to interchange when you use a sentence. Do you literally mean, when do you say, yeah, I literally did this, when you want to actually say is figurative? So you need to have that check. It's very important. Have you deleted stage direction? Remember I said, when you want to say Bilal opened the door, you don't need to describe to us that Bilal climbed the staircase to open the door. We already know that there's steps to a door. Is literally outside, that's why it's a door, or inside. But you don't need to describe to us that she went through the bathroom to open the door to the room, or don't show us, just tell us. Unless you have told us earlier that Bilal is maybe crippled, that's when you can now say, oh, this is how Bilal got to how he opened the door, because we know, and you have told us before, that Bilal is crippled, so how will he just open the door? That's when you can make use of stage directions. Then you avoid have I used strong nouns and verbs instead of constant adverbs and adjectives? And then again, have I avoided quotation marks around words? Please, it falls under misusing punctuation marks. Don't use too much quotation words in manuscripts. Is usually when an author wants to highlight something, it's usually put in italics. So it's different from the other fonts. You see that, okay, this thing is in italics. Use that instead. Don't use too much quotation marks. So are you writing a project or an essay or something? Please, it's a novel. Try to make use of, try to avoid too much quotation marks around words. And I'll end with this finally. Talk about, let's see, what I really want to I'll close the session with what I do as a writer. you, you can never go wrong with a pen and a paper. I'm always with a pen and a paper, and it's a good thing. When you're writing your first draft, it really works for anything, whether it's assignments or, and I forgot to mention earlier that this topic, it's I said earlier that editing cuts across all facets of life. So this topic can be used by anyone, not just authors. Can be used by brand owners, people trying to build their brands, or people who are social media influencers. You cannot go there and just be making blunders. Of course, nobody is above blunders, but please try to read your work again before posting it out on social media. before advertising your product with some certain words. Try to look at what you're posting out. Read it again, please, before posting it out, or before putting it on your brand, or before using it to advertise your brand. Please, I beg you, try to self-edit. Is anybody can make use of self-edit. So I was back to what I was saying. Allah created, I would like to infuse this, that the majority believe that the first creation of Allah is a pen. So I feel that you can never go wrong with a pen and a paper. Whatever you see, just put it down. You're a writer. We make researches. Write with your pen. Your pen, and you can never go wrong with a pen and a paper. You can never. A laptop can can die, like like when your battery is low and everything. A phone can get low, but your pen and paper is forever. It's wood. Paper is made out of wood. It's not going anywhere. It's always available. I've never heard of a place or of anything that says, or anywhere that they have said that pens are scarce and papers are scarce. I've never heard of it. So when you want to write your first draft, I don't know, it's just an advice. It might work for some and might not work for others. Your first draft, I feel, should be, that's what I do actually, should be in a pen. It should be written in a paper, sorry. Should be written with a pen on a paper. When you write it like that, when you write your first draft, handwritten, when your first draft is handwritten, and you want to type it into the computer to give to an editor, right? You want to send your manuscript. Once you're typing, believe me sincerely, this thing works. Other ideas are coming into your head. What you thought that, okay, maybe this thing is, I didn't even think of it before, so I can actually do this thing to this character. Do you understand? When you're typing it, more ideas are flowing in. You're seeing your mistakes, you're correcting. You understand? So I think it is really something nice that helps with editing. Writing first on a piece of paper and then typing. Some people might feel it's too much of the work, it's burdensome, but believe me, it works. It's actually the best tool for editing if you believe in it. That's it. But people are used to computers these days. Everybody's going technological, but I feel that you can never go wrong with a pen and a paper. So once you have your manuscript written down, once you have your manuscript handwritten, then and you type it out, you're 100% likely to see all your mistakes, and more ideas are even open for you. So I hope I've been able to deliver and I've been able to do justice to this topic. I hope so. Anything that I've said wrong, that is wrong, is from me and me alone. And anything that is right is from Allah. May Allah accept it from all of us as an act of ibadah. I mean, Jazakallah khairan for having me. Sorry for some of the mistakes. It's due to anxiety. Thank you.
Oh no. Jazakillah khairan for coming on to the conference, for accepting our invite to the conference. May Allah reward you. And yes, you did justice to the topic. It was informative. It was like you were literally teaching us how to do how to self-edit. So Jazakallah khairan. And the glitches, the network glitches were not your fault. So it's fine. Alhamdulillah, it's got better.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Now, so we have some questions here in the chat. Let me see. Can you see the screen? Let me show it on here. Can you see the screen now? Can you see the question I put on the screen?
Okay, what are rules guiding all punctuations?
For that, I'm sorry, let me cut in there. For that, I think you can go to the website that she mentioned. She mentioned punctuationguide.com. Yes, I put that in the chat. Sister Halima, you can check that in punctuationguide.com, because I don't think we can exhaust all those rules and
Exactly. That's what I
the
was about to say.
explanations
That's
in
why I
such a
laughed
short
at
time.
Sister.
Uh,
Rules of punctuation.
they are it's really technical. So you can go to
That's
that
why I didn't even
website.
mention any punctuation. I didn't give examples of anything because there's so much and it's just going to waste so much of my time further. And
So let me put another question on the screen. Can you see it? Can you see the screen? Assalamu alaikum. I think we lost audio again, subhanallah. Subhanallah, we lost audio again. The network is
Alaikum,
really.
can you hear me?
We can hear you now. We lost you for a while there. We lost your the audio for a while.
Is it better now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Okay, I'm seeing it
Nams.
here. She said, can you
Okay.
give an explicit meaning to reader's suspension of disbelief? Yeah, it's let's say the story of Batman or Superman is the reader's ability to be able to accept that fictitious thing you have told them and process it as real. Because if it were to really happen in real life, it's not possible. The person's head will break. For example, when Batman that, or maybe let's use Spider-Man that flies from building 1 that can be in Ogun State, and he will fly to Lagos State without anything happening to him. It's a bloody lie. But when an author is able to make a reader believe that, although they know it's a
Believe
coincidence,
the unbelievable.
your ability to make a reader believe something that is unbelievable to be believable. So when you start changing your point of view and you start saying, he is this and this and this, you begin to fracture what that reader believes. Your reader just gets confused and lost, and your story is damaged. It's only experts that can make use of multiple points of views. And let me add that there's some Nigerian writers that have actually made use of, and they have succeeded with multiple points of views. I think one of them is Chino Achebe, but one that I really know is Akachi Ezebo. She made a successful attempt at making use of multiple point of views. So it's only experts that can use that. Other books too that are abroad is there's Allegiance. I don't know, it's a movie too. Allegiance and a story of, is it a story of ice and a song of ice and fire. Those stories, those writers have succeeded in, an expert can make use of multiple points of views. So it's not just for anybody, just me. So just try to, as a writer, as you're starting, a baby writer, stick to only one point of view.
Now, so I think the last question. No, okay, that's the one I asked now. There's another question here, and it says,
What app are we to use to convert writing into speech? Oh, it's on when you open your Microsoft Word. I can't remember if I wrote it down. I don't have it
Uh,
down. But it's in your
okay, you can use
Microsoft Word. You
the
can just
dictator.
type it on Google.
It's the dictator on Microsoft Word. You
Word.
can use the dictator on Microsoft Word, or you can use Google speech to text. So you can.
Or you can just even it's the internet is wildfire these days. Just type in how can I convert writing to speech on Google, and it will show you different YouTube videos that would teach you how you can literally use your MS Word and all the things that are on it. Inshallah.
Different apps. Now, so time is fast spent, but it's I give me a concession because this is our final presentation for the conference, mashallah. Now, um, I'm feeling happy and sad at the same time. Before I go into my closing remarks, very short closing remarks, I'll just say thank you, Jazakallah khairan, Sister Zainab, for doing, for giving us this talk, this enlightening and really educative talk. Jazakallah khairan.
Well,
Uh,
Jazakum, alhamdulillah. I should
now,
thank you too for having me. Jazakumullah
now,
khair.
alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Now, we've come to the end. We've officially come to the end of the Muslima Wordsmiths Writer Conference. And I'd like to give some closing remarks, just to wrap everything up. Now, first, I'd like to thank every one of the speakers for coming on. From Sister Rahima Odushote, our very first speaker, to Sister Zainab Sulaimon, our last speaker. I'd like to thank every one of you for coming, for taking time out of your busy personal lives, for taking time out to come and speak at our conference, to come and share your knowledge and expertise and experience with us. Jazakumullah khairan, because I'm talking about everybody. Jazakumullah khairan. May Allah reward you, and may you reap the benefits therein. Secondly, I'd like to thank all the attendees from Sister Bilkis to Sister Zainab. They've been here from the beginning. They've been here as attendees, and they also shared their knowledge with us. Thank you for being with us. Sister Halima Ahmad, a regular attendee as well. And there's another Sister Halima Hafsa. Halima Mustafa. I can't mention everybody that was regular, but to everybody that ever joined in live with us, thank you. Jazakumullah khairan. Because without you, you made this. Because if there was no viewership, and the speakers just came in and were just talking to nobody, it wouldn't have been ideal. So thank you, Jazakumullah khairan, for coming on and engaging, asking questions and contributing and making suggestions. Jazakumullah khairan. It's we really appreciate it. We really appreciate it, because if, like I said before, if you didn't come on, we wouldn't have been able to do it. So thank you very much. And I would now like to end to wrap everything up with this quote by Mark Twain. And what does the quote say? The quote says that the quote by Mark Twain says that the secret of getting ahead is getting started. The secret of getting ahead is getting started. Now, I just want us to ruminate on this quote as it relates to us as writers. This conference, we said from at the beginning, that this conference was designed, it was conceived, the idea was conceived so that new emerging writers, young writers, or anybody that even has the smallest inkling of interest in writing can attend and learn something, feel inspired to start writing, to just pick up that pen or put fingers to keyboard and start writing. And as that quote said, that if you want to get ahead, the secret of doing that is to get started, just start. So it is our hope that by attending even one of the classes, even one of the sessions, that you have been inspired to start writing, to change the world, to start writing because you can, to start writing because you should. So that is our hope, that you want to get ahead. And to get ahead, you have to get started. So I'm going to end with that quote. I want you to please ponder upon it and ruminate upon it. And if you want, you can come back and watch the videos. The replays are here. If there are some of the sessions that spoke to you on a very, very personal level, come back and rewatch them. And it is our hope that, inshallah, by next year, inshallah, when it's time for the MWS WriterCon 2021 2.0 version 2.0, inshallah, you'll probably have achieved so much that you'll be one of the speakers, inshallah, not even just an attendee. Maybe you'll be one of the speakers, inshallah, that you'll come here and tell us your story, the story of how you started writing, the story of how you wrote your book, the story of how the conference, triggered something in you and you started writing and you wrote that book, you wrote that fiction novel, you wrote that non-fiction book, you wrote that memoir, you finished that book that's been sitting on your drawer shelf or your shelf for months or for years. You got inspired and you wrote it. You took charge and you wrote it. So I will end with that. Jazakumullah khairan again. We really, really, really appreciate it. We're sad that it's coming to an end, but like we said, every good thing must come to an end. It had a beginning and now it must end. The time flew by so fast. It flew by so fast. Friday was the day before yesterday, and now it's Sunday. We had 16 speakers, 16 mind-blowing, amazing sessions. I know that I won't be forgetting this experience in a long, long time. And I know that you also feel the same way too. So,
and may I add, in these first 10 days, may Allah accept everything and double our rewards.
No. Ameen, inshallah. So, remember, the secret to getting ahead is getting started. So start, take charge, write, and we will see you next year, inshallah. When you come back to the videos, everything about each speaker will be in the description box. Their social media handles, websites, website address, and everything on, and the freebies, all the speakers that dropped their the PDFs of their slides or any other freebie that they have, everything will be in the description box. So do come back and check it out on the channel. So as always, stay safe and remain blessed. My name is Hafsa bint Noreen, and I am so glad, I am honored that you all, and I mean the speakers and the attendees, honored our invite and came here to grace the Muslimah Wordsmiths Writer Conference. If we called you and you did not come, the conference would have been a flop. But alhamdulillah, you all came to give your experience and to learn. So jazakumullah khairan. So we will see you next year. Okay, let me read some comments. Hugs and kisses to you, my darling sisters. It's been a privilege. Love you all we love you too for the sake of I love you too for the sake of Allah. Writing to change the world positively. Exactly. We talked about this. Sister Belkis talked about this afternoon. So alhamdulillah. What Sister Halima said? Halima Ahmad is Halima Mustafa. They're the same person, mashallah. Now, alhamdulillah. Thank you for coming to every one of the sessions. You didn't miss any session. And Sabulkis as well. You did not miss any of the sessions, mashallah. Alhamdulillah. So, jazakumullah khairan. I'm reluctant to end the broadcast. I'm reluctant to say goodbye, but we just have to go. So, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. Oh, before I end the broadcast, if you attended the conference, if you are watching the replay or you are here now, please go to your social media pages and just write a very short review of anything that impacted you from the conference. Anything, and just use the hashtag or tag me. Okay, that's just what we ask for, just a little review or just something, anything short that you can write and tell us, okay, this is what you gained from the conference, this is what you took away from the conference, or this is what impacted you. Now, and I hope that at least one of you took something away from this conference and you will take action. You will take charge, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.